Rain in the area on the racetrack, and it looks like it's going to be coming down. We checked the weather while we're at commercial break, and you can see that the temperature's 66 degrees. Track temperature right now is probably cooled off a little bit, but look at the trails that the BMW safety car is leaving.
We literally just got done with Moto2 qualifying, and you and I are like, wow, the weather's going to be good. Did our little stand-up, and it started raining at that exact time. It's incredible, and it's pouring. And here you get a good look at what this track is going to offer these guys. First time they're going to get to see it all weekend. 20 turns, up a big straightaway, the Suzuki Trap map, up the big straightaway, up the big steep hill into turn 1. It goes downhill steep all through those S's, all the way through to turn 11. Turn 11's a great passing spot, also the most important, getting onto that back straightaway into another real big hot spot, turn 12, Greg, where we're going to see a lot of passing probably down there. We're going to see people getting in there too deep early in this race as well, all the way through what I call a little stadium section, 13 through 16, 14 there, 13, 14, 15, 16 are all very tight. 16, 17, and 18 is a great big long right-hander. They've actually counted it as 3 corners through turn 19 and 20. There's a little elevation here. There's a short run to the finish line, not a big long run to the finish line. COTA has a lot of things to offer in the sense that it's got big passing opportunities. It's got a little bit of elevation, a little bit of flowy, and a lot of stop and go. So it's got a little bit of everything. But for the first time here in the rain and really getting a chance to go out and ride in it, it's going to offer some, I think the first 5 laps of this race are going to be the people that cannot make the biggest mistakes early, are going to be the ones that will try to hopefully be there at the end.
Well, let's take a look at our starting grid. This is how they qualified. Your pole sitter, Tony Elias, at 209.192, and he blitzed the field. Roger Hayden in second spot, then Cameron Beaubier. You have Garrett Gerloff, Jake Lewis with an outstanding qualifying effort on his M4 X-Star Suzuki, and then Matthew Skultz, kind of a surprise in sixth.
Yeah, I agree with you. Danny Eslick, Kyle Wyman, Bobby Fong, row 3 through row 3 there. Cameron Peterson, David Anthony, Josh Herring. Great to see Cam back after his incident at Road Atlanta. Then we're going to go back to row 5, Bruno Silva, all the way from Florida, Barrett Long, Sebastian Ferreira. And then we got Jeremy Coffey, Sam Verderico, and Brad Morris are going to round out the field. Looking back at what we saw in Atlanta, I got to think that there's one guy, and I'm going to kind of have him as my wild card in this race. I think Jake Lewis, because he was going so well in the rain there and had a tip over in the very first turn. This is where the most important lap of the race, Greg, without question, is the warm-up lap. Yeah. You can hear Mark talking probably about different maps on the motorcycle there. But the warm-up lap here, you want to come back to the grid with a great feeling. So you kind of got to go out and push a little bit on this warm-up lap to kind of get a feel of what the track feels like underneath you, because my intentions were always to try to get away from people as much as I could in the rain. I want to be able to control my own space, and that's what I think is going to be important here. It looks like they're putting another tire in the back of Cam Peterson's bike.
Jason, this kind of really raises the question of, is this going to be one of those seasons where we see just so many rain races? We had the Road Atlanta, now all of a sudden the skies open up, and it could be one of these championships that's decided by who's got, a good rain riding ability and who's got a good setup.
What's incredible when you say that is it just seems like 10, 12, 15 years ago, we just never had rain races in America, never. And back then we used to go to a lot of super speedways as well, and so we wouldn't race in those conditions. Over here, though, I think the first year we did MotoAmerica, the very first inaugural season of MotoAmerica, every track we went to, it rained. And so it's not really surprising that we've had a pretty near perfect day today, and then it starts pouring on these poor guys right now.
Well, unfortunately for Hannah, she's down there getting wet with everyone else, and she has her Cycle Gear last-minute report. Hannah?
Don't worry about me. I have my own umbrella, girl.
No, come on.
So for the last-minute report here, obviously conditions have changed significantly, so I think that that's going to change the grid lineup a lot. Tony Elias has had so much success here in the past. He won back-to-back races last year on this race weekend. Unfortunately, I don't think that he really enjoys, well, nobody enjoys racing in the rain, but I don't think that his strong suit is the rain, so maybe someone else will be on the top of the podium. Who knows? What do you guys think?
I look at Garrett Gerloff, too. You saw him just over Hannah's right shoulder.
Can't discount Matthew Skultz, though, dude. He's magic in the rain, I'm telling you.
And I'm not discounting this guy either, ever.
No, I know.
There's just so many guys right now. It's just going to be really, when you come back to the when you come back to the grid, Greg, after that warm-up lap, if you have a great feeling, it's going to be important to get a good start, and that's the main thing. Turn 1 here at COTA is very tricky. It's also a very treacherous turn because you're going up that big steep hill that you can see in front of these guys. And the problem that there is that it gets so tight up in the top of turn 1. It's so easy for one person to make a mistake and take out 6 or 7 others with them. And let's hope that we don't see that. Everyone's just got to try to get through that first turn. What about Danny Eslick? I mean, there's so many people that you could really look at in this race.
Yeah, there really is. And one thing I do know is in this morning when I was in the MotoAmerica paddock, I asked a lot of the teams about their rain setup because it looked like it was going to rain all day long. Motorcycles here, Jason, have a very similar setup to Road Atlanta. Not a lot of changes to motorcycles, mostly gearing, but suspension's really close. So every team I spoke with said, we're good because we have a rain setup that we tested at Road Atlanta, and we take it right here to Circuit of the Americas.
And they just bring it right with them, man. That's going to be good. But you can see Josh Herron's kind of leading the way on this warm-up lap. Really, when you're in Jake Lewis's spot here, 5th in our picture, fifth out there riding, you're kind of gauging yourself off those first 4 guys right now, as is Raj looking at the rest. But I would suspect that the grip level might not be bad here. So far, we haven't seen anything that's going to make us feel otherwise. And this guy, what he does is he just kind of plots along. He'll let some guys lead if he doesn't get the best start, kind of see what they're doing and that kind of thing. But Matthew Skoltz, you mentioned him. We watched him win the last race of the year last year at Barber in these conditions on a super stock bike. The only rider to ever do that in a superbike race, to win on a super stock bike. He struggled this weekend. We've watched him all through the dry. Him and the Yamaha Westby team have struggled just a tiny bit. But those are going to be the weekends for Matthew that I feel will keep him in the championship. If he can minimize the big mistakes on their worst weekends, that'll keep them there. But this could fall right into his hands now. He might be more comfortable.
It could for this one race. And I think the thing for the Yamaha Westby Racing team is that there goes Matthew Skoltz, is that now Matthew has a possibility of winning in the rain because he is fantastic. But is there any data collected for tomorrow, which is projected to be nice and sunny and warm? So you got to get those most points that you can, and hopefully we won't see a repeat of what we saw at Road Atlanta where Matthew got bumped off the track and then had to just keep clawing his way back. The conditions are slippery, but they look predictable. They really do look predictable. And if the weather holds here,
just lose the front there. That, sometimes coming up under those bridges, the water can start to stack up a little bit. And we saw that earlier. Those are the places that dry off later. So it can puddle. This guy here was ripping in the rain in Atlanta, and we've been a little bit quiet with Jake this year. Well, this year it's only our second race.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's a guy that doesn't mind really going out in the rain and going along. So you got your Danny Essex, you got Bobby Fong, you got a few other guys that are gonna feel confident in this stuff. Josh Herron basically missed the whole first session yesterday with some shifter problems. So again, there's some guys here that maybe in the dry might not otherwise be right up in the front, but in the wet they could be.
So bikes forming the grid, getting ready to go racing. Jason, I'm going to throw this out there and we'll talk about it. 20 turns, 3.4 miles. Not our longest track, but definitely the most corners. And in the rain, it's basically a new track. So it might take these riders a little while to learn. It's not like you go do one lap and you've remembered or you've got locked into your brain what traction's like in every single corner. So usually in these conditions, if they settle down without another big storm, you can see there's a little bit of drying track out there. Right? That you'll see lap times start to pick up.
Yeah, I think just getting to that first turn here at COTA is so key. It's so key, Greg.
Riders still coming out of that final corner. You can see the safety car in the back part of your screen as this race scheduled for 15 laps. So Tony Elias, who a couple years ago was on a couch 2 weeks before we came to Circuit of the Americas, got a ride with the Yoshimura factory team and hasn't let it go, winning the national championship last year. We're set for race 3 of the MotoAmerica Superbike season. It's the Motul Superbike class. You'll see lights go off and clutches dropped, and we're heading up the hill to turn number 1. Hold your breath.
Tony Elliott's got a good start, but so did Danny Eslick from row 3. Look at Danny on the far left of your screen with that orange helmet. He's going to slot himself in there probably third, fourth spot by the time they come out. Looks like he's trying to go around the outside. And this, right now, when you're Tony, you're kind of setting the example. And then we got Josh Herrin has moved up to fourth. Danny kind of got shuffled back there, got kind of shoved out to the outside. So you got Elias out front. Looked like Jake Lewis, but here comes Josh Herrin. Josh Herrin has jumped up into second, and he's going to spend no time at all. Look, Greg, he's going right on through.
Whoa!
On Tony Elias, right now through the S's.
Oh, Josh
runs
is
off
off.
the track, onto the paint. You can see just a little overambitious there right off the bat. He's got the pace, obviously. He feels comfortable.
Now keep in mind, here at Circuit of the Americas, we're riding on FIM homologated paint. There's aggregate in the paint, and they do that on purpose because of these conditions. In the rain, it actually gives you traction. Some of the racetracks that we go to later on in the year don't have that, so general rule of thumb is stay off the paint. But here, I mean, it's not great, but it's a lot better because you have aggregate in that paint.
That's exactly right. And you still, I think it's in your mind, you don't want to get on it. Here you go, Josh Herrin has made a bid to get by Tony. He's ran a little bit wide. Tony's going to double him back up.
And you can see Tony's not really aggressive in the tuck, and you know he knows that he's going to be involved in some spray, taking a look over his shoulder. So Josh Herrin, number 2 on the Attack Performance Herrin Compound Yamaha, goes to the lead.
This is great stuff from Josh Herrin. Really, really good. It's just a matter of him. You know, Tony's probably just going to let him lead now, let him do his thing. And it's always easier to kind of be the second or third guy in this stuff and let that guy in front test it.
With a little bit of distance and speed, as Herrin puts his foot down, trying to find some traction. Tony is concerned about that spray, and you can see that Tony's able to turn, get tighter lines than Josh Herrin. Again, this motorcycle, like brand new, this Yamaha for Josh Herrin. And his team working on the new Magneti Marelli electronics for the Attack Performance motorcycle, trying to get everything to work. And with the compressed schedule we have as guests of the MotoGP race this weekend, not as much track time as normal. So for this team to be leading this early and Josh Herrin starting to check out in lap number 1 of 15 is pretty special, as Cameron Beaubier, he comes up on the back of the reigning champ. Tony Elias, Beaubier trying to get a drive, and he'll sit back in third for the moment.
Yep, he's going to sit back there right now, but he's going to try to make, you can see he's opened up the radius of that turn just a little bit to try to do something with Tony. This is something, though, that Tony does so well, is he gets into corners, gets the bike stopped, and gets it up off the edge of the tire and shoots it down the next straightaway. So Cameron wasn't lucky enough to get close enough to him there. And you can see Raj is back here with Skultz and Kyle Wyman. So Skultz is in 4th, Raj 5th, Kyle Wyman there in 6th right now, and I think that this track actually looks not too bad in the rain, Greg.
Does
Lewis
it?
is 4th, actually, so we didn't get to see Lewis go up the hill. So this is actually the battle for 5th between Skultz, Hayden, and Wyman. And Josh Herrin has just literally pulled the pin on this thing. He wants to try to get out there and get as big a lead as he can. And I know Richard Stamboli and all the guys at Attack have been working so hard on just getting that bike to the racetrack. And with the bad luck they had last week, and here comes Cameron Beaubier trying to go to the inside of Tony. Tony looks over, sees that, lets him go through.
Cameron Beaubier into 2nd position over Tony Elias. Jake Lewis in 4th spot. Bit of a gap back to him, and then there was that battle for 5th. So
Cameron, he'll go after Herrin. He definitely will. He might be looking at this as an early opportunity for him to make up some points that he lost there. And if he can get somebody between him and Tony, that's a good thing, you know.
And we've seen Tony do this before. Last year, there were plenty of times where Tony started to drift back, and all of a sudden, mid-race, he starts to push and close the gap. So it's not like the race is over for Tony. Many times in racing, you see someone going backwards, and you're like, yeah, it's a done deal, but not with Tony Elias. He's always in the fight. Josh Herrin, Attack Performance, Herrin Compound Yamaha. Look at that swing arm with the number 2 on it. That's a handmade piece by Richard Stamboli of Attack Performance with Superbike rules. It's available for anyone to purchase in the series, but it's looking pretty sweet right now for that team who had to miss. Had to miss Road Atlanta because their truck broke down in Louisiana. They turned it right around, came here, and now leading this Motul Superbike class in front of these great fans who stuck around for the rain, as well as the MotoGP paddock.
Yep, Josh is doing exactly what he needs to do right now. And, you know, in these kind of conditions, and you see your board and you see it going +1 or +2 or +3, your goal really is to try to keep things, all the controls, all your body movements, everything's just got to be as smooth and deliberate as you can. You don't want to be fighting the bike, or you don't want to be pulling on the bars and things too much in these kind of conditions. And right now, after that first lap, he had 1.5 seconds. After the second lap now, he has opened that up to 3.2. So he's doubled his lead, over doubled his lead on that lap, Greg, and looks really comfortable doing it. 234.3 to a 235.6 by Cameron.
If you're just tuning in, we're on lap 3 of 15 for the MotoAmerica Motul Superbike class. In rain conditions. Moto2 qualifying here at Circuit of the Americas got complete, was done, and the skies looked like they were going to be favorable for a dry race, and then just as the MotoAmerica Motul Superbike class luck had it, the skies opened up. The first lap that we recorded so far is a 2-minute 34-second lap by Josh Herrin, who's out front. Here's Tony Elias, Yoshimura Factory Suzuki championship points leader, did the double last week in the first round of competition at Road Atlanta. He won them both, maximum 50 points. This might be part of his consideration, Jason. If the bike's not feeling 100% for Tony, he might just be content to collect 16 points for this race. That's what you get in third.
Absolutely right. Man, I like everything I'm seeing Josh Herrin do right now. He's just continuing to pull that gap. They went through the first split, the two Yamahas of Herrin and Beaubier went through that first split with almost identical times, but he's pulled a little bit of time, 0.3 of a second on Cameron. And these are the corners here that you got to be careful. These turns come in and you can see he's getting his downshifts done as early as he feels he can. His new leathers look amazing. We saw him out here yesterday in his old Moto2 leathers. The new leathers are looking sharp.
Keep an eye on the left hand of Josh Herrin as he grabs those downshifts. You see he's not working that clutch. Earlier on, yesterday, he had to because they were working on the auto blip. Can you explain auto blip a little bit, Jay?
Well, basically, the motor's revving, just doing that little blip for you that a lot of us do when we do our downshifts, especially as we get down to those last few vital downshifts. We kind of get the throttle a little bit of a blip there where we're pulling the clutch in. And now with auto blip, and it's coming standard on some bikes as well now, the advancement of technology and things, Cameron looks like he hasn't let Josh get too far away through the third segment of this track. We'll keep an eye on that. But the thing is, Greg, the auto blip is just something that the motorcycle's thinking for you, and you don't have to worry about it. So you can do your downshifts kind of where you feel comfortable. And I know Richard's got a lot of, Rich Tamboli, that is, from Attack. You can see he's opening up his visor right there because it's starting to get a little steamy inside that helmet when you start breathing. So you just let the visor up a little bit and clears up your vision. But 232.2 for this guy right here. Just went fastest lap of the race. So Cameron's just going to start getting more and more comfortable, and he wants to start going after that number 2 of Josh Herrin.
So Herrin in a great position at the moment, but Cam Beaubier, really, I mean, if you're Cam Beaubier, what do you have to lose at this point? You know, that's the thing. He had a DNF, and he collects some points in the last round, but for Cameron Beaubier, I mean, of course he wants to win his third Motul Superbike class championship, but in these conditions, I think it's just kind of a win-at-all-cost situation. You know?
Yeah, he's definitely coming after him now. He was a lot quicker in the third split of the last lap, and in this first split on the track that they've just gone through, he's gone quicker again. Only just a little bit quicker than Herrin. You can see Herrin's bike spinning up just a little bit as it hit the paint. But see, when you're Cameron Beaubier and you start seeing that gap getting closed back in, it gives you a really good sense of feeling of, especially if you're feeling great on the bike, because the guy in front doesn't really have a gauge, and you can see Josh Herrin's not going to have any gauge in front of him where Cameron does, and Josh has been just out far enough where it's going to give him the confidence in knowing, hey, I got a lot of grip, I know how much I can push, I can see when Josh Herrin's starting braking, I'm going to take that just a little bit further down the track, and all that stuff will just hopefully increase Cameron's confidence. But his bike looks incredible. His lean angles look a little bit greater right now than do Josh Herrin's to me. So again, he's clawed back more time in this. 0.8 of a second, Greg, in the second split. So Cameron's coming.
And off in the distance, I think Matthew Skoltz is looking at the pace to catch Tony Elias. So a little further back in the field, Matthew Skoltz, who's in fourth place, trying to get on the podium.
And I always say it's second round, it might be too early to talk about the championship, but it never really is too early to talk about it, is it? Because
not really.
You can always go back and you can look at pivotal races throughout the season. And for me, Josh Herrin's first race weekend where you take a stock motorcycle out there, scored points, it's pretty pivotal. Same thing here right now for Cameron. Even though he crashed in Atlanta, he was able to pick the bike up and get a result, and then to be able to come second in the next race. Now he's got a chance for really his first win, and you can see he's really clawed that gap back now to Herrin, 2:30.6. So he was over, what was he, Greg? 1.4 seconds quicker.
3 seconds the last time by, now down to 1.5. So Cameron Beaubier, Monster Energy, Yamalube, Factory Racing Yamaha, going after the Privateer Attack Performance Herrin Compound Yamaha.
And you can see that, Tony just didn't feel like he just wasn't comfortable today in these conditions. So he's out there right now. He's going to have to fend off Matthew Skultz, like you said. I'm looking here again. These guys are going through that first split. I'm going to see it any second now on my screen, and it'll give you an idea. 42.7 to 42.3.
And most riders out there on our timing and scoring monitors are setting personal best times, which indicates to us that one of two things is happening, or both things. Riders getting more comfortable, or the track conditions are getting better, or both.
There's a couple things that you can see, that I can see just in the different riding styles of these two guys right now. Josh gets off the inside of the bike just a little bit more, which is pretty standard in these kind of conditions. Here's a great view. Skultz is going to go right by Tony Elias as they head down from turn 10 to turn 11. So he's moved himself up to third, gets in here just a little bit deep, but he's going to get the bike turned. And Tony now back to fourth, and it's no fun back there eating all that spray either.
Privateer Yamaha versus Factory Suzuki down the back straightaway. Different size riders, definitely, but Tony Elias loves the speed and acceleration of his Suzuki. So Skultz takes over third spot, at least for the moment. And I have not seen the fire or the comfort level of Tony Elias, his riding position. Just haven't seen it like we've seen in the past with him. And hey, everybody's allowed to have a race. I mean, coming into this thing, Tony Elias 14 points ahead of Matthew Skultz. So yeah, Jason, it's early in the year. There's 20 races, scheduled for the MotoAmerica Motul Superbike class. This is only race number 3, but Matthew Skultz is 14 points behind Tony Elias. So looking at a result like this, it's not a huge difference between fourth and third in terms of points, but it is 3 extra points. And if it finishes this way, that means Skultz heading into tomorrow's race would only be down by 11. Yep. So,
it helps him for sure.
Every single race. So as we saw Skultz get by Tony Elias and take over position, it is Josh Herrin who's coming under fire from Cameron Beaubier. Yeah. So a 2:31 flat for Herrin and a 2:30 flat. So 1 second, Beaubier just took out of Josh's lead.
The last little bit of S's, if you watch, Cameron's got a little bit more lean angle than Josh, so they're going to come through all this little section here. It's relatively the same because these are kind of quick in succession turns that don't require a ton of lean angle, especially in this stuff. But when we get to this big long right here and then the next left, specifically, see how much Cameron just kind of carries just a little bit more speed, and Herrin's, see how much tighter Cameron is on the exit of that corner. He has the confidence to just have a little bit more lean angle. He's sitting up on top of the bike just a little bit more than Josh as well. And, in these conditions, it's all about trying to get that bike and loading it, Greg. You want to make sure that you can load it in the correct way. It's the same in the dry, but when you get in the wet, it makes a big difference. But all those last little switchbacks, you can see a difference in the corner speed, and that's where Cameron's got maybe a touch more lean angle and feel and confidence than Josh does.
Both riders racing with Alpine Stars suits. You can see, though, a difference in equipment as Cameron Beaubier's knee pucks are about twice the thickness of Josh Herrin's. Those are specially designed years ago by Alpine Stars because riders used to glue 2 knee pucks together. They want that little extra feel off of the knee with less lean angle. A good tight shot. You can see Josh Herrin with that red knee puck on. It looks like to be standard size. Yep. Cam Beaubier's white puck, he had it down on the ground about 7 or 8 corners ago, is quite a bit thicker, and that gives Cam a little bit feel as he touches and just skims it off the ground. Really quite an amazing feat, and it shows how excellent the grip is, not only on the race surface, but with these Dunlop rain tires.
No, that's exactly right, and to be fair, we haven't seen anybody put a wheel wrong. So the track conditions, and I guarantee you that every single person in that paddock right now, the MotoGP paddock, is probably watching this just in case something was to happen. It was supposed to rain tomorrow, or if it was going to rain tomorrow, just looking at the grip. And
Yep, lap traffic.
They're already catching up to Brad Morris.
So number 93, Brad Morris out of Denver, Colorado on the Brad Morris Racing Yamaha will go a lap down as we're getting ready to click off lap number 6. That'll take us to 9 laps to go when they come across just now. Josh Herrin continues to lead, and a faster lap time by Herrin at 29.9 to Beaubier's 29.7. You think it's at the point now, Jason, because their lap times keep getting quicker for Beaubier, is it the right time to try to strike against Herrin? Because you know how Herrin rides. He's a fighter, and he's just not going to take it. He will fight right back. So risk-reward kind of situation for Beaubier?
I think right now Cameron's got to where he needs to be, and that's the main thing. He's done the hard work of actually catching Josh, and Josh has done the hard work of leading. So they've both done what they kind of need to do. This is where Cameron's a little bit quicker all down through this section. You can see he's able to hold the bike there again a little bit tighter, which is going to open up this right-hander and help him a little bit and draw back in, as now they're catching San Federico as well as another back markers. They go down to kind of a bad spot to catch him right in the middle of turn 10. So that's going to hurt Cameron ever so slightly. No big deal. But yeah, you can see that Cameron's just a little bit better in those spots. But I mean, look, Josh Herrin has maybe 15 laps on this bike before the start of the race. 20 laps.
Like what you're seeing is absolutely amazing. I mean, no time to have a rain setup. I'd be interested to find out what they did. Here goes privateer horsepower versus factory horsepower. Yamaha R1's going after it. Cam Beaubier takes the lead for the moment. Can he get it slowed down? And he does. Ooh, a little bobble.
Just a little bit, but this is actually, Herrin's going to try to fight right
This is it. This is what we talked about.
Cameron ducks it back underneath him. He's not going to be close enough to do it, but, this is a time where if you're confident with your pace and how you feel, if he lets Cameron by, he might be able to see a couple things that Cameron's doing and copy them himself. So, but I love the fact that Josh has got that fight in him. He wants to win. Obviously, he's very, very hungry to try to show everybody that the amount of effort he's put into just getting this bike on the grid has been a lot for both him and the team.
Beaubier out a little bit wide, caught a little bit of a puddle. The other thing too, Jason, is looking at the attack performance Herrin compound Yamaha of Josh Herrin and of course Richard Stamboli. I think the question is what map, what quote-unquote rain map do they have loaded in there, and how bad is he abusing that rear tire? Because these tires are a very soft compound. They have a lot of deep tread with sharp edges that eventually get worn off and you lose grip over time. So as we get deeper into this race, it's going to be interesting to see if Herrin's going to be able to keep that rear tire underneath him, or does Beaubier and his team. As we see though, it looks like Beaubier is starting to struggle just a little bit.
I don't think it's struggling, as he's got a lot of confidence. I think he feels like he can get on the gas a little bit earlier. He can do things a little bit more. This is the spot where Herrin kind of keeps the same speed. You can hear the guys downshifting in the middle of these S's. And Herrin's really good through the beginning of that. And Skoltz now with a 2:29 flat. He's 9 seconds behind Cameron Beaubier with, what, Greg, 7 laps to go. And he is ripping right now. I can just tell by his body language how much faster he looks right now. All through those little S's. But Greg, he trimmed off a 1.5 seconds off that last lap. Skoltz is coming, so we'll see if he's able to do anything. Here's our guys back to our live shots coming up over the top of turn 10. Matthew Skoltz is the quickest through the first segment. I can tell you that right now, and he's quickest by a long shot. I think that there's a lot of grip in this track, and some of the angles that we've seen from our camera crew, I can see the grooves that have been cut into the track. Just right now, look at the right of your screen. You can see where they've done a lot of their cutting as they go down this back straightaway. So right now, grip-wise, the track looks really, really good for all these guys. But Skoltz, he's going to be in the back of that shot probably in the next lap or two. When we come down that big long back straightaway, if he keeps going the way he's going. Here he is breaking down into that same exact turn. He could probably see those guys way up in front of him right now.
Got to stay calm though, Jason,
Absolutely.
Because if he starts to see him and get a little bit closer and a little bit closer, you don't want to get over anxious if you're South African rider Matthew Skoltz, who's in third spot. Herrin leads the way from Beaubier. This Westby, or Yamalube, Westby Racing, Yamaha, Matthew Skoltz in third, Tony Elias and Kyle Wyman back and forth.
Listening to him getting on the gas, though, and Herron has also stepped up the pace, but listening to Matthew get on the gas as early as he is, I want you to pay attention. Look at these two you got right here. They're both so much more smaller in stature than is Matthew. I really said it in Atlanta that I think that it's an advantage for Matthew being as tall as he is in the rain. It's really helpful. He came all the way back to third in Atlanta and was the fastest rider on the track for the last, 5 or 6 laps of that race that day. So we're going to be keeping it. He's on another really, really fast lap as the 2 leaders go through again. We'll look at their times at 29.2 for Josh Herron, at 29.6 for Cameron Beaubier. So Josh has done an incredible job with not only setting the pace up front, but being able to, once he got past, push the pace. He's in a little bit deep at the top of the hill right now, but it's not going to hurt him too bad. 2:27.5. He's only 7.8 seconds back now. Matthew Skoltz is coming.
Wow, so it's tight up top, especially with these conditions. Josh Herron, Cameron Beaubier, Matthew Skoltz. Retired from the race, unfortunately. Genuine Broaster Chicken Hondas, Cam Peterson out of this one. Jeremy Coffey as well, the number 42 rider, Coffey, on the Superbike Underground BMW. Retired from this one as well.
And something happened to Raj. I'm not exactly sure, Greg, but
yeah,
Raj is all the way
Hayden
back to 13th. So he's had some sort of problem. Now, the leaders have responded a little bit in that first split compared to Matthew. 41.7 that time for Cameron through the first split. And he's looking a little bit more racy to me right now. Matthew's still quicker than them in that first split by almost half a second. And there you go, Josh, just a little bit wide. Cameron's able to see how he's able to just get that bike turned. I think, honestly, if Josh had just the tiniest little bit more edge grip for himself, I bet he'll say something about it later. He'd be able to get that extra little bit of lean angle to give him some confidence. But Cameron's going to have another go with him on the brakes as they come down into turn 12.
Cameron Beaubier takes over the lead from Josh Herron.
And he's in deep.
They can't hold on to it. Herron sneaks underneath him and will take it over again. And watch the back of your screen. There he is, Matthew Skoltz.
He's coming.
He's on a roll, but time is running out. There's still 7 laps to go in this race, so it seems like a long time with these lap times. 3.4 mile circuit, 20 turns. Right now it's taking these riders 2.5 minutes, just under that, to get around per lap. Josh Herron continues to lead the way. He is answering everything that Cameron Beaubier has thrown at him at this point. So Cameron's got a couple different spots. He's definitely using the, whether you call it the traction map or the horsepower of the factory bike. But the big advantage for Cam Beaubier over Josh Herron at the moment is acceleration. Getting the power to the ground.
Acceleration, and he's on a bike he's been testing and racing in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Cameron, I mean, yeah, but I'll be honest with you, in 2 laps, Greg, they're going to be joined. There's no question in my mind. Look in the back of your screen here in just 2 seconds. You're going to see Matthew Skoltz coming. 2:26.9 that lap from Matthew Skoltz. These guys are both in the 29s, albeit low. Matthew Skoltz coming.
Oh, look at a replay. This was Cameron Beaubier. It's beautiful with all that rain, isn't it?
So good. Our camera guys are doing such a good job out there, and you can really see a lot of the spray. But Cameron was just in there a little bit deep, but it didn't allow him to pull the brake lever on that extra little bit that he needed. So he ran himself a little bit wide and allowed Josh to get back up underneath him.
So this has been going on now for a couple laps as Matthew Skoltz sets the fastest lap of the race again.
Yeah, it's really, that wasn't very close either, Greg.
So Josh Herron continues to lead, Cameron Beaubier on him, but Cameron Peterson on the Genuine Broaster Chicken Honda is out of this one. And I believe Hannah's with him. Hannah?
Yeah, I've got Cam Peterson down here. Cam, first and foremost, we're really glad that you're okay. Tell us a little bit about what happened.
Yeah, I got off to a pretty bad start and never been on a big bike in the wet, so it just took a couple laps to get the feel for it. And yeah, I think it was just a case of getting a little bit overconfident. I started putting in some pretty good laps, and I could see I was catching Jake and Kyle in front of me a little bit, and yeah, I think I just got a little overconfident, and it bit me. I just lost the rear in between 9 and 10, and I'm so gutted, man. I'm disappointed. But yeah, we'll just focus on tomorrow's race, put this behind us, and hopefully we'll get a good result tomorrow.
Thanks, Cam. Greg and Jason, back to you guys.
All right, you saw that pass for the lead, and that was aggressive. And oh, look at Josh Herron now trying to get on the gas.
Yeah, but see, Greg, he doesn't have that extra bit of lean angle. You can see it at the end of the back straightaway, and you can see it all through those little tight sections. And I'm sure, see, Josh Herron doesn't know that Matthew Schultz is coming. He's only getting the plus signs back to Cameron. You saw Roger Hayden. We've been watching him just kind of get slower and slower. He's got to obviously have a problem with his bike. But see, Cameron Beaubier knew that this guy was coming. He had to get by Josh. And, you know, that's the thing, is he knew that there was somebody coming up behind him. He didn't know who it was. But 226.9 to a 229.1 for Herron to a, let's see what Matthew does as he comes across the line, 226.3. So Cameron Beaubier is capable of getting into the 26s, and now that's where he's gone. And this guy is still coming after both of them.
And he's still setting fastest laps of the race, 226.365 last time by the stripe. So 10 laps into this 15-lap race, and Matthew Schultz keeps getting quicker and quicker. But it's that split that we're looking at. It's 4.9 when they came across the stripe to Cameron Beaubier, but it's only 3.3 to Josh Herron, and he continues to chip away. Man, he is just ripping
so much
section.
grip. Honestly, he has so much grip. I'm almost scared to say that, but he does. He has so much grip. And see, this is, for me, I think this is actually might be even good for Josh Herron, because he's going to get to see what Cameron's actually doing and if he's able to do it. I feel that you can see even Josh lost a lot of his time, don't forget, on the last lap when Cameron went by him and going through that little stadium section. He's kind of kept that distance the exact same. He's only 0.6 behind through the first split, but Matthew Schultz again has gone fastest in the first split. So you might see three bikes get tied back up together here in a minute, Greg.
Running order, Cameron Beaubier leads the way. Talked about Josh Herron in second spot on that brand new, fresh out of the box motorcycle he's riding. So it's Yamaha 1, 2, 3. As we slot back, Garrett Gerloff, the Superbike rookie, back there in 8th. In 9th is Barrett Long, Bobby Fong in 10th spot. So these riders coming up on all kinds of very fast lap traffic.
And Danny Essick, that got a good start, is now getting lapped. So
down!
Man,
No!
Cameron Beaubier.
Your race leader, Cameron Beaubier.
I just am blown away. I've not seen Cameron. I just haven't seen Cameron make these kind of mistakes, and it kind of started a little bit last year. And I'm not sure if it's a lack of focus or what it might be. I know these conditions are treacherous, but we literally have not seen him put a wheel wrong. Does the rear end come around on him, Greg? Yes, it does. The rear end comes around, spins him out. And that's about as easy as you can go down.
Oh!
And it looked like
mechanics hate that one.
I'm not sure if it broke the left handlebar or not, Greg. I just couldn't tell, or at least bent it. But it's such a strange crash to see that happen. We saw it happen to Raj in Atlanta, and I've just never had that happen where the bike spins out from underneath you. But he's back up and
flops over, so
he's back up and going. And Josh Herron's been caught now by Matthew Schultz, and Herron's probably thought to himself, well, Beaubier's gone. I maybe have this now. Now he's got +0 on his board again.
Yamalu Westby Racing's number 11. South African rider. Doing a great job, Matthew Schultz. Just a master in the rain.
Watch how fast he is through all these S's. This is where Schultz is so quick. He's got so much grip out of this right, and he'll be right up on the back of Herron all through this little section. And if I had to think he was going to do it anywhere, it's going to be out of this next. Well, going back up to Cameron Beaubier here as he gets out. I'm really happy to see he comes across the line, Greg, in third still. He did not
still ahead
lose
of
any
Tony
time.
Elias. Yeah.
There you go. This is where I thought he might try to go by him. Herron kind of blocks that line a little bit, but look how much more lean angle again and turnability Schultz's bike has, a lot like Cameron's bike. So
you can see Schultz there hesitating getting on the gas. He was kind of letting Herron dictate that particular corner. So Matthew Schultz,
this is where Matthew's got to show a little bit of patience. He's caught these guys from such a long way back. He doesn't need to do anything crazy to try to go by because he's done such a fabulous job of doing what he needs to do. Look and see how much tighter he is. They're just cutting down the distance in all the corners on Josh. And I know that the setup on Josh Herron's bike is really, really good for him to be doing as great as he is. But I think if you were to say, Josh, was there any changes you'd like to make? I'm sure he would tell you that he just needs that little bit of extra edge grip, side grip. And here we go, Matthew. Matthew, just like I said, he's got to not get too impatient at this point. He's going to try to go down the right side. Josh Herron does a great job running it in there and keeping it ahead of him.
Two Privateer Yamahas, 11 R1s in the field, and Schultz goes up the inside. A beautiful, aggressive pass as Herrin. Is he going to lay down on this one? Does he have the grip?
Wanted to go back by. He wanted to do it in the left.
I just don't think Herrin's got the rear end grip. You can see the motorcycle bouncing around ever so slightly. When he's upright, Jason, he's got so much motor though, it's kind of moving around.
What I feel like he's got, Greg, is he just doesn't have the lean angle. He just doesn't have that extra little bit of bite on the edges, and that's really where he's struggling. I think he's got the pace going into corners. I think he's braking his deep. He's doing all that stuff the same. But you might be right too. It might be a little bit of grip on the exit of the corners as well.
Yeah.
But he runs a little bit wide on the exits compared to the other two guys that he was racing against so far today. And if you listen really close, see how much, because this right here is Matthew just being able to turn his bike a little bit better. That's all it is.
No question.
I mean, Josh and the guys at Attack have had no time on this motorcycle.
And you know what? You don't often see a pass made on quick bursts of acceleration. Definitely not in the dry. It's usually on the brakes, as Schultz has got to work his way around Brad Morris. So it looks like Morris will go 2 laps down on this one.
And here comes Cameron.
And I can't believe that Cameron Beaubier was still ahead of Tony Elias.
Yeah, by quite a ways, to be honest with you. He still has a pretty big gap on him. Considering he tipped over and got the bike back upright. You can see the windscreen. That would scare me if I was riding that bike right now. I think it looks like a big sharp knife, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Yeah. But it's also a testament too, Jason, I think, to factory equipment, and they build these things for crashes.
Amazing.
To make sure that, if there is a low side, that you can pick this thing up and move. And the bars are set at a certain, torque spec, where if it hits the ground, it bends and doesn't break kind of situation. And they don't expect, of course, the bike to low side, then flip over and hit the other side. But obviously a very rideable motorcycle for Cameron Beaubier, because Schultz, your leader, Josh Herrin, and then the first of our factory motorcycles, something we don't often get to say in MotoAmerica, is Cameron Beaubier, and he's in 3rd spot. Then it's Tony Elias, Kyle Wyman on the Motivation Yamaha doing a great job in 5th spot ahead of Jake Lewis on that M4 X-Star Suzuki. David Anthony on his Fly Racing machine in 7th. Garrett Gerloff on the factory Yamaha. Barrett Long in 9th spot, and Bobby Fong in 10th. So another good job by Barrett Long and his crew.
Yeah, Matthew Schultz, I'm sure Chuck and the boys are going to get the board out, let him know he's got a 5-second lead or more on Herrin right now with 2 to go. Matthew's still pushing very hard. He's just gone quickest lap time of the race in his 3rd split, so he's still pushing very, very hard. Can't say enough about this guy. Josh Herrin's done just a tremendous job today. He's going to bank a bunch of points. They're only going to get better, this team. I know, obviously I know Richard Stamboli very well and what he's capable of, and he'll just continue to make that bike even better.
All smiles in the Yamalube Westby Racing pit area. I guarantee you, Chuck Giacchetto, who runs this team from a management standpoint there, is Trig Westby. Of course, team principal of Westby Racing.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, when the skies opened up, that crew just had a big smile on their face, especially with how they were struggling in the dry this weekend.
Well, they know they got a rider that can do anything. He can do great in the dry. He can do great in the rain. I've said from the beginning of the year, he's kind of my wild card to win the championship, because I feel like he's not afraid of anybody. He's got great skills on a bike. By that, I mean his motor skills. And there you go. There's Richard Stamboli on the right
waving
there,
to us.
A wave. Very, very stoked probably right now.
I hope so.
That's about as excited as he gets.
Yeah, he always looks unaffected. Like, all right, it's another racetrack.
As excited as he gets right there.
So on board with Cameron Beaubier, great onboard shots for this race weekend, as we have a couple of laps remaining in this race, and these conditions have really spread things out. There's your reigning national champion, Tony Elias, taking a look down at his dashboard as he is circulating in 4th spot, 46 seconds adrift. And behind him, Kyle Wyman just set his fastest lap of the race, as he is in a fierce battle as Kyle Wyman with Jake Lewis.
Yeah, he's getting chased, isn't he?
Yeah.
But Tony's going to just bank his points today. This is what makes this guy so good, Craig, is he's just smart. And it's hard to beat the best rider, but it's also hard to beat the smartest rider over the course of a year, and he's kind of got both.
And this will be the first time, well, listen, I don't want to predict it with a lap and a half to go, but this potentially could be the first time Tony Elias has come to Circuit of the Americas and hasn't won a race.
Yeah, he's 4 for 4 here as well, isn't he? So, but he'll take that 4th place. And but we were talking about this guy earlier. He's just so good on a bike. I'm lucky enough that I get to go out and watch all these sessions, and this guy always really impresses me with how he uses his size to his advantage and how he rides a motorcycle. There's not a lot of movements. You see Roger Hayden.
Oh, wow.
Not really sure if it was a crash that he had. It looks like they're looking down at like some sort of maybe damage, or maybe there's obviously something going on with the front brakes or something doesn't feel right.
Possibly
there.
electrical. I mean,
Could be.
These conditions with rain, if every little sensor on that bike is not sealed or a wire is exposed, it could create anything on that motorcycle. But for this rider, Matthew Skoltz, coming to the line, he'll take the white flag. So 1 lap to go for Matthew Skoltz. He's a race winner before. He won the last race of 2017 in Barber in wet conditions, and he did it on a Superstock 1000 motorcycle. The Yamalube Westby team stepping up into the Superbike class, working very hard in the offseason with tons of testing. Complete opposite of this motorcycle that really kind of came together at the last minute, for the Attack Performance Heron compound.
Here you go, Cameron Bobie third. Josh Heron took a big, long look when he got to the top of the hill back and saw nobody coming after him. That's got to be a good feeling for him to know that he's just got to kind of tool around this track for the last lap and get the first podium of the year. We'll see more of him. Cameron Bobie doing a good job. Damage control. He's got plus 12 on his board there. You can see P3, 1 to go. Plus 12. If you just listen on your TV of how early this guy gets on the gas in the rain and how he modulates his throttle so well. All through the S's early in the race, he's even running over the paint. He's got a lot of confidence. But if you just listen, you'll hear how he modulates the throttle and how smooth he is on the controls with it. But how quickly he actually gets the gas open is something that I can really hear in my ears as well. And that just goes to tell you, Greg, how much grip there is out there and how good these Dunlop retimes are.
It'll be interesting hearing comments after this race as to how much grip they actually had, especially for the parts of this racetrack that were ground down just a few weeks ago. It's also looking forward, Jason, going to be interesting to see how this rain affects grip tomorrow. Yep. Is there as much dust on the racetrack? Will it bring it back to the racetrack and create even more or slippery conditions? Or will it wash it away, including the rubber, and create even more traction for the entire field of races? We have Moto 3, Moto 2, MotoGP, and of course, the Motul Superbike class race 2 here for MotoAmerica, all on tap tomorrow.
Matthew just took a look over his shoulder. He might have some people over there on the right-hand side in the grandstands there, gave them a little nod. But you can hear the throttle, Greg. You hear how it's just constant and it just sounds great. That's what's really where the time was coming for him, where he was catching those guys as quickly as he was. He's catching Barrett Long right now.
Barrett Long would go 2 laps down, and he's in 10th spot.
He's actually, this would be his only.
Yeah,
we got to be nice to Barrett. It'd only be his first time.
Here we go. Checkered flag flies for the South African Matthew Skoltz. He will take race number 1 in the Motul Superbike class as his group erupts. And how about this? Josh Heron finishing on the podium in his debut race on the Attack Performance Heron Yamaha. Big wheel in the air for Josh Heron, who led a lot of this race, and Cameron Bobie on the Monster Energy Yamalube factory racing machine. After throwing the motorcycle down the road while he was in the lead, can he bring this motorcycle home to stand on the podium? This story is one of many that this Motul Superbike Race 1 has brought out. Tony Elias behind him. So here comes Cameron Bobie.
I'm just glad he's okay.
I know, right?
I'm just stoked he's okay.
That one might work on the confidence a little bit, but he will come home safe in 3rd spot.
But you can tell he's not. I mean, these guys are going to be happy with 3rd as far as just getting some points. But Cameron's just having a frustrating year right now, and I know he talks a lot with Jake. And there's Tony. He's going to finish 4th and bank those points like we talked about. Look, gives every team a thumbs up. Here comes Kyle Wyman, and he was able to hold off. Well, Jake Lewis got ahead of him.
Yeah, Jake Lewis got ahead of him.
We just missed him on our screen. So Jake Lewis was able to jump up there in 5th.
So Kyle Wyman on that Motivation Accessories Yamaha will take 6th spot. Sorry, as Jake Lewis on the M4 X-Star Suzuki was able to work his way into 5th spot. Ryder still out on the racetrack as Now Danny Eslick has taken the checkered flag. He will be slotted in 11th. Zember Rico in 12th. Brad Morris, who went a couple laps down. And good for Brad, I have to say, in 13th spot for Brad, getting some points. He was the last rider to score points. He did set the fastest lap of his race on the last lap, so he was getting more comfortable with these conditions. Wheel in the air.
Josh can throw down some big stand-ups, can't he?
No, he's not scared.
Anybody that follows Josh on Instagram, you're probably going to see this video later on there.
Hey, Josh, and, I think your crew chief will say, will you stop starving the motor of oil? Plus, he's got to lay that front wheel down and stop turning. No, that's okay.
Yeah,
I've seen that in the drive.
He can run wide down there at the end. It's all right. So, it's okay now.
Big thanks to all the corner workers and the crew that have come out here for the MotoAmerica MotoGP race weekend. Having to deal with the elements this afternoon as a big rainstorm rolled on by. We caught just the edge of it, and a lot of people thought maybe there was more in the area, but as it relates, I think, to rain tires, Jason, you actually couldn't ask for better conditions. There wasn't a lot of standing water out here, and you mentioned it all race long. There seemed to be a ton of grip.
Yeah, I feel bad for Cameron because that's a really strange crash, that one, and just having the rear of the bike spin out from underneath you. But it kind of also might tell you, how hard he was riding because he did have pace. We saw him jump into the 26s, which is very fast. He went 26.9 to Matthew's 26.1, but it was just a little bit past the point of what that bike may be capable of, and just had a little slide off.
I'm sure there's a lot of people in that team that are interested to see the data trace of Cameron Beaubier's machine, meaning, okay, let's look at it from the last lap. Did you initiate a little bit more throttle, less throttle? What happened?
I talked to Raj last week, and he said, Jason, the laps prior to my accident last week in the rain, every lap was the exact same speed, no throttle, exact same everything. It could have been the exact same thing right there for Cameron as well.
Matthew Skultz, Yamalube Westby Racing. That is a privateer machine. Chuck and his crew, those guys going after it, taking their Superstock 1000 motorcycle from last year and methodically going through an off-season testing program that included a lot of track days. And they're based out of the Atlanta area, so they have more time, as do, like, say, California teams, to get better weather. And so they had a very aggressive but methodical testing program. And in third race of the season, they're able to stand on the top step of the podium.
Can't say I'm shocked.
No, 3 Yamahas, so Yamaha sweeps here. And it's 2 privateer Yamahas and then a factory bike. First Suzuki, of course, will be Tony Elias. So riders are in Parc Ferme, getting congratulations all around. We'll take a commercial break. But when we come back, it's going to be interesting to hear how the race went for Matthew Skultz because he put on quite a show. Welcome back to a soggy Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, as the Motul Superbike class, race number 1 for the weekend for MotoAmerica, is complete, as Matthew Skultz was our race winner in these wet conditions, and he had to do it in fine style. Let's go down to Hannah in Victory Circle.
Speaking of our race winner, I am with him now, Matthew Skultz, another win for you. Tell us a little bit about how you caught up to Josh and about your battle for the lead.
The start was terrible for me, but I just kept on going, and I could see that my sector times were actually getting better and better. So I just kept on pushing, and I saw that I was catching them. And I think with about 3 laps left, I managed to catch a Heron and pass him. And then unfortunately, Beaubier crashed. So I found myself out front. And thank you so much to the Yamalube Westby guys. They gave me an awesome motorcycle. It never faltered once. It was a perfect race for me.
Thanks, Matt. Congratulations.
I think you'd be a little bit more happy after that win because that was something special. Of course, it's a lot of stress in the race.
It's a lot of concentration it takes to do that in these conditions. I mean, a lot of people won't even ride in the rain. You go to track days and things, people don't even ride in the rain. The stress that it takes to ride one of these bikes at a high level and to come from where he did. When you're catching people, you start thinking to yourself, am I going a little bit too fast? Am I over the edge? Obviously, he wasn't. He said the bike worked perfect. It looked like it worked perfect on the screen to us. Didn't see him do anything wrong. He just got a bit of a bad start.
Back to Hannah.
I'm here with our second place finisher, Josh Heron. You took a risk right off the bat, and it seems like it paid off. Did you think this time last week that you'd be down here in Parc Ferme doing a podium interview right now with me?
Last week, yeah, I would think so. You know, if you asked me this morning, I'd say no way. You know, rain usually doesn't treat us very well on the Superbike. The R1S obviously was good, but Superbike's always been tough, but the guys have been working really hard. It seems like we got a good rain setup here, and, you know, super happy about it. Just want to thank all the sponsors, you know, Attack Performance, everybody that's been putting in the hard work, guys at Yamaha, Born and Bred, Wiener Schnitzel, Bell, Alpine Stars, everybody that's been helping with the team. You know, it's super cool to you know, have this be our first race on the new bike and get on the podium. You know, no better way to celebrate. So pumped about it and can't wait for tomorrow.
Thanks, Josh. Congrats.
That's a pretty amazing result for that team.
Great result.
I mean, really just unloaded that thing on Thursday, and now they get to stand on the podium. I wonder if now race fans are going to be like, well, okay, puts it on the box. We'll get this every race now.
Yep, the thing is that we go back from what he did last weekend, and now he's got a second place. He's right there up in the front of the championship in the top three, probably top three guys, I would think, right? And I haven't looked at the official yet, but I would think he's probably running third in points.
So Josh Herron will finish second and score a nice heap of points, 20 points for his effort. But Hannah's still down there working that victory circle, and she's with Cameron Bobier, who had quite a story. Hannah?
Cam, you crashed and managed to get back on the bike and still finish on the podium. Tell us about what happened out there. That was crazy.
Yeah, you know, I was feeling good right from the start. The first couple warm-up laps we did before the race, I had a decent feeling, and yeah, I started the race, slotted myself up in second. Herron was riding really good, and I was slowly closing the gap, and I saw Schulte on my board. I saw he was running us down. I was like, man, I need to go, and I made a couple passes, didn't really stick, and then I finally made a pass on Herron that stuck, and just, you know, started trying to get in a good rhythm, and I was feeling okay, and I just got a little too aggressive with the gas in second in the tight stadium section, but fortunately I was able to pick it up and still get points and finish on the podium. So big thanks to my Monster Energy Graves Yamaha team. They're working really, really hard this weekend, and yeah, I love those guys. Bell, Alpine Stars, and for keeping me safe, and hope tomorrow goes a little better, and I'm glad we have a second chance.
Thanks, Cam. Congrats.
Well, yeah, Greg, that's, you know, I knew that he could see the Scults was coming, and you heard him say, I just maybe got on the gas a little bit too early. So, you know, that's what makes these guys champions, when they can admit their own problems and things that they did, but he's got a great team behind him, and that got him through it.
All right, we'll take another break on Be In Sports. There's more coming at you from MotoAmerica, the Motul Superbike class. A lot of racing going on here in Texas. Hang tight. MotoAmerica has been presented by Dunlop. Dunlop motorcycle tires are the official tire of MotoAmerica, and powered by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll.